I wanted to make this video, but I have to go pick up my baby from the nanny in like 6 minutes. And I'm also eating lunch. But all the same, I wanted to share the top 4 things that I learned in 2019. And just, you know, over the past few years, in times of big transitions, I think it's always important, and I say this all the time, reflection is where learning becomes wisdom. And that just means that the time that we take to actually think about the experiences that we had, what they mean, ask ourselves what happened, how did we feel, because our initial response is often a feeling one, and maybe it's in just our own immediate self-interest, but we're not necessarily thinking about the significance or why we might have acted the way we did. I think it brings me to the next most important thing, which is that the only person that you can control is yourself. And think about how hard it is to change a behavior that you have in yourself. So, I don't know, maybe you shop too much or you play too many video games. And how difficult it is to keep saying, okay, next week I'm gonna start. Okay, at 8:30, I'm gonna stop playing video games and I'm gonna do, you know, it's so difficult for us to change a behavior in ourselves. Imagine how impossible it is to change a behavior in someone else. So if we know that, it's a great thing because it means all of our best energy and efforts are actually directed at ourselves and not at anything else. And I think that, especially if you've done political advocacy or you've been involved in a lot of social justice work, you really spend a lot of your time and energy, or I spend a lot of my time and energy identifying the things that the outside forces that were really impacting the way that my community was living. And at the same time, as we're doing that, we can't forget that the most important work always lies with ourselves, because we are the only sphere of our control. Okay. So good. So good. The other thing that I think was really important for me to learn, and I learned it in a few different ways, but feel your feelings. So whatever feelings you're having, I went through a lot of grief. I lost my mother. I think it's a really difficult time in anyone's life to experience that kind of loss. Your mother is your first home. Your mother is the first person that you really connect to. Such a significant relationship in your life. And I learned that I really just had to feel all my feelings until I could feel something else. And sometimes we stop ourselves from feeling feelings because we're embarrassed, or maybe we think that if we feel that feeling, then it will completely overtake us and we'll slip into something and we won't ever be able to get out of it. At least these are some of the thoughts that I have had. But I think that if we don't feel all of our feelings, then they come back. At some point, they'll come back to us and invite themselves into our life because they need to be felt. Feelings need to be felt. And there's no shame in the feeling that you're having. If you're feeling embarrassed, if you're feeling alone, if you're feeling scared, you can admit those things privately to yourself, and it also doesn't define you. Your feelings are not definitions. They're emotions, they're experiences. They relate to particular experiences, but it's not everything. Okay. The last thing. I'm gonna finish eating before it gets too cold. It's so good. It's just like being Parmesan on it. The last thing I learned, I would say, is about praise and self-discipline. And sometimes I think that I thought in the past that if I praised myself, that it wasn't as genuine as if someone else praised me. But, other people can have agendas, they can have context or reasons why they're praising you. So your boss might tell you that you're doing a great job, but that's because, you're making your boss money. Or your teacher might really genuinely be invested in you doing a really great job, but also, you know, it reflects on them and their job. So there's reasons for them to want you and to be motivated to give you these kinds of compliments. But when you give yourself a compliment, it actually comes from a really pure place. So if you think you are a great person, a really wonderful friend, a really loving partner, even if you're not in a partnership, if you think that you are smart or kind or interesting or, you know, are gonna be a really good dog dad, any of these things, like, you can praise yourself. You can acknowledge those things in yourself. And for me, that goes along with self-discipline. So being really, you know, knowing how much time you have and really trying to plan effectively for that time. And knowing that the investment that you put into self-discipline and to creating that kind of organization in your life will only yield to greater things. And I had an Instagram post about this, and basically what I was saying was, you know, we are good at so many things that we don't realize, literally because we don't spend time on ourselves. And working on ourselves is one of those amazing things that literally any amount of work that you put in yourself is gonna make you better. Any amount of thinking about a problem is gonna bring you closer to a solution or give you more options. Like, the more that you work on yourself, the better things get, even if it's the smallest, tiniest little bit. So I want you to feel like anytime you invest in yourself is absolutely worth it. And even though it can feel really easy, especially if you're one of those caregiver people or people who identify with caregiving, it can be really easy to just take care of other people at the expense of yourself. So I probably gotta go get my baby right now. I might even be a little late, and so I gotta go get my baby right now. Thank you, everybody. Subscribe, like. You can follow me on Instagram. All my socials are below, and thanks.